You bad baby. What are you doing? What are you doing out here? Bo, why didn't you tell us? I wanted to show you guys these Christmas lima beans that I've been seed saving. This is that bean plant that you see that's super tall that's growing up the trellis in the Ruth Stout garden. But they are so pretty. I just love them. I love the color, and I think I'm going to end up seed saving all of these this year and not cooking with them because I want to have a huge patch of these next year. So I know I'm being kind of greedy, but I'm planning ahead. But I just think they're such a pretty bean, and lima beans are my favorite. Some people call them butter beans. They taste so good, you guys. You just cook them up with some garlic and butter, and they are delicious. I used to eat these all the time when I was a kid. My windowsill looks so grody right now because I've got all of these tomato seeds fermenting right now, so I could seed save them. If you haven't watched my tomato seed saving video, check it out because this is the easiest way to save tomato seeds. Got chickens following me. Dang it, the storms knocked over my tomato plants that are in the Ruth Stout garden, but I think they will be okay. I just gotta prop them back up somehow since they didn't break. Holy moly! I think I missed a cucumber. What in the world? I didn't know they got that big. Goodness. These are Armenian cucumbers. Oh my goodness, there's a whole bunch out here I need to pick. Holy moly. Check out this kohlrabi, you guys. It is huge. It still hasn't bolted yet. What is going on with this thing? It's massive. I'm trying to let it bolt so I could seed save from it. I finally hung up some garlic in the pantry and I really like it. I just put 2 in here because obviously we have way too much garlic to fit in our pantry, so the rest is still hanging out outside, but those will be cleaned up and brought in soon. But I just like the way they look hanging up in the house. And usually when I go to use it, I pull from the top and I go from the top down. So yeah, there's my garlic. And then I just have a little bag of shallots hanging up right there. I wish I would have braided my onions, but I forgot. So I don't have an onion braid to add to this one yet. Hi guys, as you can see, it's storming pretty bad right now. So I'm gonna make some apple pie filling tonight since I can't spend all my time out in the garden. And I'm gonna be sharing the recipe card to this apple pie filling, but I want you to take note that you want to omit the 1 cup of cornstarch for this recipe, and I'll explain why in just a minute. So don't put that in this recipe, but everything else is a-okay. I like to use Golden Delicious apples or Gala apples for my apple pie filling. I just think they're a better tasting apple and they've got a high sugar content. And I'm peeling all of these by hand because I don't have an apple peeler or an apple corer. and I don't plan on getting one because I'm not a big fan of apple pie. As I cut all of these apples, I've got them in a bowl of water with 2 teaspoons of citric acid. That's just going to keep my apples from turning brown. Also, I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of honey and a half teaspoon of citric acid to each jar before I pack them with my raw apple slices. In a pot, you want to mix up all of your water and all of your dry ingredients, minus the citric acid and the honey. While you're preparing your sauce, you're going to want to put your jars in the oven at about 225 degrees for at least 20 minutes. That's going to sterilize your jars. You're also going to want to put your lids and your rings in some boiling water. You want to bring the sauce to a rolling boil until it's well combined and there aren't any clumps in your sauce. Keep it at a rolling boil for a few minutes and then you can turn it down. Now, why I'm asking you guys to not put the cornstarch in this recipe is because it's really not recommended, because it's not safe if you don't know what you're doing. I'm putting it in my recipe, so it is in my sauce. So you can see it's really thick because I know how to use it and how to make sure that it doesn't clump in my sauce. But you can always make your pie filling without any thickener and use the thickener when you go to make the pie. So that's why I'm saying don't even bother putting the cornstarch in there. Now I'm raw packing my jars. These jars are hot, and I keep the jars in the oven until I use each one of them. That just keeps them hot the entire time. Then I'm going to put my tablespoon of honey, and normally I put the honey and the citric acid before I pack the apples, but I actually forgot this time, and it doesn't really make that big of a difference. So 1 tablespoon of honey in each jar, and then a half teaspoon of citric acid per jar, and I'm using quart-sized jars. If you're using pint-sized jars, I think it's only a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid. Now make sure when you pack these jars that you're leaving about 1 inch of headspace at least at the very top, and the same is going to go for your sauce. I'm going to pour this sauce in hot, and again I'm going to leave 1 inch of headspace at the top of the jar. This is really important because if you don't have at least 1 inch of space up there, your jars can leak inside the water bath. Once you've got them filled with the sauce, you could take a canning spatula and push the apples aside. You kind of wedge between the jar and the apples, and that just helps to get all the air out of the middle of the jar. I just use a chopstick because I like to kind of stir it around in there and make sure I get a lot of the air bubbles out. Just make sure that whatever you're using is not metal. It needs to be like silicone or plastic. And this is a moment where I'm telling you to do as I say, not as I do. I'm actually using a stainless steel chopstick, but it's been in my boiling water, so it's sterilized and warm, so I'm not worried about it breaking my jar. Always make sure to wipe the rim of your jar before you put your lids on. I use a damp cloth, and I'm using it damp because this is a really sticky solution I'm putting in there and quite thick, so I want to make sure that rim is nice and clean. Next, we're going to put this in a water bath for 25 minutes, and it only requires 20 minutes, but I'm doing 25 minutes just to be on the safe side because I do have a thick solution in here. Also, you want to make sure to check your altitude because depending on your altitude, you may have to add 5 minutes to your processing time. Also, you're not going to start your processing time until your pot comes to a full rolling boil. I put my jars in while the pot is warming up, and then as soon as it starts to boil, I start my 25 minutes. Now, I usually will have extra sauce, so what I do is I just store it in a jar, and I usually will just buy a few more apples and do another can at a later time, so you can keep that in the refrigerator. And then also, if I didn't have enough apples to fill up the last jar, I just dice the apples up and I put them in smaller jars, and these are really great with your yogurt or on top of your breakfast cereal. You can use them for just about anything. I like to make apple turnovers with them, so it's nice to have a smaller jar of this filling. Alright guys, that's it for this video. It really wasn't meant to be a tutorial, but I knew that you guys would probably want to know what I was doing when I was making the pie filling, so I thought I would supply the recipe and just kind of explain my process. But I do have plans to make a few canning videos with full recipes, step-by-step for beginners. But if you're an experienced canner, then you already know how to do this, so you could just go off my recipe and make your own. But that, I know that it might be confusing for someone that's a beginner, so this isn't really meant to be like a tutorial video. It's just kind of a vlog. But like I said, I do plan on doing another, like a whole series of preserving and canning for you guys. That is for beginners. So stay tuned for that. That's probably going to happen sometime this week or this weekend. But thank you guys so much for watching. We try to post a video every single day, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.